Going into some best practices and some of the common obstacles that we see. So making your challenges targeted and agile is huge. So focusing on time-based challenges, not leaving them open into perpetuity, and then focusing on topics versus general suggestions, communicating early and often. So it's, once again, not just in the submission of the ideas or the announcing of the winners, but following up with the organization as a whole, as well as the individual submitters for the ideas that are moving forward in the process and ultimately get implemented. Going cross-functional, a lot of the time, going cross-functional is great. And a lot of the time what we'll see is companies not just starting this at a business unit level, but they're thinking, hey, let's just start this at a single department and see how it works there. We found that you get a lot better cross-pollination of ideas when you go cross-functional and you target a whole business unit or an organization as a whole. And then up front, having a formal process for being able to say, once we select ideas, where are they going to go in terms of who's evaluating them and who's going to be responsible for implementing them. Some of the common challenges, right? So these more are on the things that you're going to hear from leadership or other people you're trying to get buy-in from in the organization. So people will say, hey, what if we don't have a good engagement rate? What if we don't get ideas that will, impact bottom line or give us a return on investment? A lot of times people will say we already have enough ideas. We're having trouble prioritizing what we have already. Then also, if you're doing some type of online platform setup, one of the common denominators I'm sure everybody here is familiar with, if they're doing innovation work, is getting time from IT in order to vet something, build something out for you, or set up single sign-on for you. In order to address some of those, right? So lack of engagement, having that promotion and communications plan, like I said, if we're going over 5,000 employees, you're going to see between a 50 to 55% engagement rate. If you're under that number, like I said, we're going 60 to 80. That promotion and communications plan combined with the champion network is going to help you get there. Also, the time-based campaign component, it allows you to create that artificial scarcity with participants to get them to participate and say it's only open for a 4-week period instead of having this thing open into perpetuity and disappearing on your intranet. From a lack of ROI, it's understanding your goals before starting and what success looks like, providing insights and materials, which we can follow up on how to collect those. That's a whole entire webinar in itself. And then using challenge statements for focus. Around prioritization of features, this is kind of a pro tip, but depending on if you're not doing things that are IP sensitive, it's really a good practice to involve customers in evaluation. And then also, this goes into pro tips as well, but restructuring your decision-making process and then training employees to test and validate their own ideas, which both of those, once again, could be subjects of a different webinar. But looking at IT resources, these are, in the perfect scenario, oftentimes it's going to be a process from you just trying to get this up and running to where you want to be at an optimal state. But looking at getting a percentage of budgeted time from an innovation team's perspective for IT, leveraging project-based contractors, and this ties into the implementation of ideas versus the setup of the challenge. And then looking at outsourcing IT in certain situations when you have non-IP sensitive projects that you're working on. Some of the common tactical mistakes, I've seen more project request form that I'd like to, mention on this call with you, but a lot of the time when you have like an IT request form, right, or you're having people do the initial submission, it's like a 15 or 18 question long form you have to fill out to post an idea. Making the idea posting form too complex is just going to decrease the engagement rate. Even, if you make it too long, the people that do submit are not going to provide you the level of depth that you want, so you're going to have to follow up with them anyways. Just make the barrier to entry as low as possible, especially if this is one of the first challenges that you're running in the company. Providing recognition and feedback, we've covered that, several times, but that's actually in the commenting during a challenge while it's live. Providing recognition and feedback and you leveraging your champions to help you facilitate that process is really valuable. Not regularly analyzing the impact. So at the end of your first challenge, you want to make sure you go through and say, here is the potential value of the ideas. If it's not financial impact, look at customer impact, or whatever metric that you're trying to measure, and see from the ideas you collected what the potential impact of the organization is going to be. Once again, sharing that back with the organization. Finally, not updating employees on the status of their ideas after the challenge ends. Just something to note, 95% of the ideas you receive are not going to be implemented. The thing that employees care about, and from what we've seen from the data, they don't care whether or not their idea was implemented. They care if they have a perceived voice in the organization, and that perceived voice is represented by the updating of the status of the ideas. So even if the idea isn't moving forward, trying to provide a tailored communication to that group of individuals and sending it just to those employees that don't have their ideas moving forward helps close out the loop and will increase your engagement as you run these challenges over time and try to bake them into your organizational culture.